The House Energy, Communications, and Technology Committee will come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chair Scott.
Present.
Representatives Andrews.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Witsit. Neely.
Here.
Burns.
Here.
Churches.
Present.
Hill.
Here.
McDonald.
Present.
McFall.
Here.
Wenzel.
Here.
Outman.
Here.
Aragona.
Here.
Fagol.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Schmaltz.
Here.
Madam Clerk, you have 16 members. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative McFall makes a motion to adopt the minutes from the October 25th, 23rd meeting. Without objection, the minutes are adopted. So today we'll be taking testimony on Senate Bill 271, sponsored by Senator Geis, Senate Bill 273, sponsored by Senator Singh, and Senate Bill 502, sponsored by Senator Schenck, and Senate Bill 519, sponsored by Senator Shing. At this time, I'll invite the bill sponsor to begin and come forward to begin your testimony. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Senator Geis sends her apologies. She's dealing with a sick child before she comes up to session, and so she's asked me to talk about her bill, Senate Bill 271, and afterwards I'll talk about my next bill, 273, and then Senator Schenck will talk about her bill. Senate Bill 271 is the codification of a clean energy standard for the state of Michigan. I think many people know that the governor a couple of years ago came forward with the My Healthy Climate Plan, and a higher renewable energy portfolio was suggested, as well as a clean energy standard. In this bill, we put forward a renewable energy portfolio standard. We grow that from where it is today to in 2030 that we would have 50% renewable energy, and then in 2035 that we would have 60%. At the same time, starting in 2035, a clean energy standard would come into play, and that our regulated utilities would have to be at an 80% clean energy standard, and then eventually 100% clean energy standard by 2040. Let me spend a little time talking to you about what is defined in these areas. We want to ensure that, at least on the renewable energy standards, we obviously focus a lot of the conversation around wind, solar, geothermal, hydro, but we also allow for some things that were in the 2016 law to continue, the biggest item being in that biomass. And then we allow those facilities that are currently in place to continue to stay forward. We do allow for some additional biogas to expand, things such as landfill gas, taking that methane, turning that into energy. It's better than flaring it out into the atmosphere. And so we allow for some expansion of biomass going forward. We also know that we live in a cold state. We need to make sure that our energy is reliable, that it is affordable. And so as we looked at the provisions here in 271, we wanted to ensure that there were sufficient points of contact between the Public Service Commission and the utility, that if there was concerns about meeting some of these goals, if there was concerns from MISO or other federal players in this space, that there were off-ramps that would allow for us to be able to address an issue that perhaps MISO might bring up, or other federal entities. And so we wanted to ensure that that provision was there. You'll see that those are squarely in this legislation. We also had a robust conversation around distributive generation. I know that has been a conversation for those of you that have been on the Energy Committee in previous terms. I'm pleased that within these bills we've increased the cap of distributive generation to 10%. I think right now in the current law it's at 1%, but voluntarily and through IRP processes, consumers, DTE, and others have increased their cap through that process. Now, the cap here in 271 would be specifically moved forward. We also have a conversation around our co-ops as well as our municipalities. They're obviously not regulated by the Public Service Commission. We want them to obviously move in this direction, but their Public Service Commission is their board. So they have the same sort of points of wanting to move us towards renewable standards as well as clean energy, but they also have their board that they can go to if they can't meet some of those standards and need an off-ramp. And so those are provided in 271. For the first time, we also put forward a standard for storage. And you'll see that in this legislation. Obviously, there's been great strides in technology around storage. It is becoming cheaper and cheaper as the years go forward. And for us, at least on the renewable side, the storage is going to be a really key component for that, and was pleased that we were able to include storage here. And then the last couple items that I wanted to at least acknowledge and talk about is the clean energy standard provisions. Nuclear is squarely included here as a clean energy standard. So I know there was some question of whether or not that was the case. It's very clear in these definitions that that nuclear is included. We also keep natural gas going forward as well, but natural gas going forward has to be done with carbon capture. That's already happening to some degree at the federal level. There's also, at this point in time, some unique opportunities with federal resources around carbon capture, and so we do believe that many of our utilities will utilize those federal dollars to help make their transition. But there would have to be a carbon capture of at least 90%. Then we also give some ability for the commission to take a look at additional items as they come forward. If they still meet that 90% capture rate, or they are kind of fueled by nuclear, they could also add additional technologies. And so I know every once in a while people ask about hydrogen, and so as long as they kind of meet those pieces that they're either hydrogen done by nuclear or hydrogen done by renewables or by some level of carbon capture, then that the commission would have the ability to sort of add that to the clean energy standard. Also, if there's new technologies that come forward that we haven't thought of, this also allows that flexibility for the Public Service Commission. So want to thank, obviously a lot of groups and organizations who've sort of come together on this. I know even some of the groups that are currently opposed had offered up some of these ideas as solutions that we have included in our package, because we wanted to ensure that that what we were offering here was something that was defensible in the sense that it provided for reliability, that it also was affordable, that it could also pull down as much of the federal dollars that are available here in this very unique period of time, but then also codified some of the principles that the governor had put forward in her My Healthy Climate Plan. So that is Senate Bill 271. Madam Chair, if I could go on to Senate Bill 273.
Please do.
Thank you. Senate Bill 273 is building off of the very successful program that was established in previous energy bills around energy efficiency. Currently, right now, we require our regulated utilities to have a 1% annual electric energy efficiency savings. We are one of the top states in the country for energy efficiency work, and I want to thank the utilities that have created these programs. We have, in our conversations with utilities and others, asked to see if we could expand that, and so you'll see in the legislation here that we have gone from 1% to 1.5%. And that there is a goal of 2%. And so there are, as the incentives that were currently in the 2016 law kind of transfer over into this law, they would see those incentives as they got closer and closer to that 2%. Also, on the natural gas energy efficiency, we increase it slightly from where it is at 0.75 to 0.875. And then there's some additional benefits as they get closer to 1% energy efficiency. We also wanted to change the definition of what could be eligible for these funds. So right now, heat pumps aren't eligible for that. This is obviously a very significant and growing technology, which now would be available through this program. We also allow for building envelope changes. For a lot of our families throughout the state, especially if they live in older homes, those homes are drafty. And if there are things that we can do to the building envelope itself to sustain that, that will not only save them costs on their energy, but will also have a significant benefit to the utilities, where they don't have to build out as much capacity because they are seeing some of this energy efficiency. So those are some really key changes in the provision, and we also have a requirement for at least a minimum of a low-income spend, which over a period of time gets up to 25%. We want to ensure that everyone has access to energy efficiency programs, including those that are in lower income communities. And oftentimes, as I mentioned before, those houses have some of the highest energy burden because they're old homes that haven't been built in a way that was energy efficient. And so this would be a positive piece here. We also have encouraged our co-ops as well as our municipal utilities to participate in this program. As we talked to them, many of them did not like the program when they were under it in 2016 through 2021 because they were being overseen by the Public Service Commission, and they felt that the Commission's protocols and reporting structures were probably appropriate for the regulated entities, but not an entity like themselves that weren't regulated by them. So they felt the paperwork was too timely, too time-consuming, and so forth. And so what we've done this time around is remove the Public Service Commission from this process and allows for the local co-op or municipal to self-attest that they're meeting these goals. If they decide they don't want to do this program, they don't have to. They would then have to work with the Public Service Commission to put a set of resources aside at the Public Service Commission so their customers could then go to the Public Service Commission and pull down resources to do energy efficiency. So we feel like this now will be, I think, a bold step because it allows every resident of our state to have access to energy efficiency programs. And as people are able to make some of these changes, and many of you have probably already done some of those changes, you've already seen some of the benefits of that. This will now make that an option for all residents of our state. And so those are some of the key highlights on Senate Bill 273. The next bill is Senator Shinks on Senate Bill 502, and then I'll come back and talk about Senate Bill 519.
Good morning, Chair Scott and members of the committee. Thank you for taking up this legislation to move Michigan towards a clean energy future. I am Senator Sue Shinks, sponsor of 502. Climate change is happening in Michigan already. It's causing millions of dollars worth of damage now, and so Michigan must do its part. And the Clean Energy Package is Michigan's part, and it's also part of the implementation of the My Healthy Climate Plan, which included hundreds of people from across our state over the course of over a year. This plan is a win for all Michiganders. By addressing key financial and accessibility issues with transitioning to renewable energy resources, the Clean Energy Future Plan will make our homes and businesses more comfortable and significantly reduce energy costs while improving the reliability of energy delivery. It will bring billions of dollars of investment into Michigan. In fact, according to Five Lakes Energy, it will double the federal investment available to Michigan. Waiting 1 year to pass this legislation would cost Michigan $1 billion in lost investments. In addition to improving energy efficiency in Michigan, we are supporting Michiganders that are disproportionately impacted by household energy costs, climate change impacts, and unreliable energy. Pollution and energy efficiency and inequity disproportionately harm lower-income communities, especially communities of color, a systemic injustice that this legislation is intentionally working to correct. The entire package is the result of months of collaboration, negotiation, and consensus building with stakeholders and advocates across the spectrum. We've heard the concerns over how to make a just transition to clean energy and have incorporated language to do that within SB 502 and across the package. This package also ensures that the process used by the MPSC continues to be clear, predictable, and accessible. It's the process that the utilities have been using. Senate Bill 502 requires the Public Service Commission, in approving integrated resource planning, to weigh equity and environmental justice, affordability, compliance with the clean energy standards in SB 271 and 273, and public health. It creates a requirement that EGLE assess the environmental justice and public health impacts of integrated resource planning, and increases the utility representation fund to provide financial support for intervention, which respects the process that we already have in MPSC cases, and encourage grant making to nonprofits representing environmental justice communities and communities with the highest energy burdens. It contains prevailing wage standards in the construction and maintenance of new or existing capacity resources. It creates a process for residents to work with MPSC to improve its process. This is the moment to do our part. Let's not miss this moment. Today's efforts to move Michigan forward on clean energy will help improve our state's equity and economic climate, as well as our environmental climate, creating a more diverse and representative workforce, lowering energy costs for residents, creating healthier communities, and making homes safer and more efficiency. And I want to make it very clear that the industrial users are insulated and protected from what's going on with the residential rate payers. Action to address climate change and invest in the resources needed to make Michigan a leader in environmental resiliency and sustainability is long overdue, and now's the time. Thank you so much.
And then, Madam Chair, I did want to know, did you want me to speak on Senate Bill 519? I know at one point that was at the Labor Committee, and I wanted to just make sure if you want me to just
I
briefly
do.
talk about it. Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you. So we also have a bill, Senate Bill 519, that creates a department within our Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity, LEO, that would take a look at transitions that are happening in industries. So right now within the bill, it takes a look at two industries. One is the energy sector as it's going through its transition, but then also it does take a look at the automotive industry as well. What this does is allows the staff within LEO to be able to take a look at the federal programs that come into the state. As you know, we receive a lot of federal dollars for workforce development opportunities. This would allow us to take a look at those programs and see if there is going to be changes in job classifications and different skills that are necessary that we would be able to help those individuals with training and technical assistance and help those companies make modifications. We've done this over a period of time. For those of you who've been around, I've got a little bit of gray hair, so I remember back in 2008, 2009 when we were making some significant changes in the automotive industry. We did really take a look at federal workforce programs in a very different way. We asked for waivers that allowed for us to go in work with a company, often through subsidiary organizations, groups like MMTC, that would then work with the business to retool the business plan, but then the workers that needed the training to be able to be doing the new things within their company. And so this type of just transition office is around in other parts of the country. We modeled ours off of Colorado. And Illinois has one as well, and so we took some of the best practices there. But this is really an opportunity for us to take a look at a proactive level to make sure that as technologies change, that we help the workforce be ready for those new opportunities. In our discussion in the Senate, we also talked about AI. As you all know, AI is changing a lot of different industries, and If this group wants to begin to take a look at other industries that are going through significant changes, we do allow for that opportunity as well. And I do think it's probably a worthwhile area to take a look at, because I do think it's going to change a lot of the work that we see happening here in the state, but also throughout the country and the world. And so we need to have a tool that allows us to be proactive in this. And so Senate Bill 519 is that vehicle, and I think that basically covers the elements of that bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we appreciate your testimony and your presentation on this very important piece of legislation that you're bringing forward. We appreciate you. I'm going to open it out now up to questions from members, but I'm going to ask that you keep it to one question. Definitely one question. If not, I'll have to cut you off. All right. All right. Chair recognizes Representative Altman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senators, for being here to speak to your respective bills. This legislation is a massive change to Michigan's current energy makeup as of right now. How does this legislation contribute to energy reliability and affordability?
One of the things I think you've probably seen as we have begun to transition from coal, for example, throughout the state, that items such as renewable energy has come down so much in costs, whether it's solar or other types of renewable energy, that there's huge cost savings. I think if you looked at the IRP process that DTE had over the summer, which I was very proud of the coming together of a variety of different groups for that IRP settlement. The closing down earlier of those coal plants is saving $100 million in costs here. On top of that, we also know that there are federal dollars that are available through the IRA, through the Infrastructure Act as well. And as you heard from Senator Schenck, there's an opportunity to pull down a lot of federal dollars. And so as we make this transition, a lot of that was happening already. I think you saw, utilities, whether they are municipal and or regulated utilities, they have already been moving towards the renewable energy goals. They all have, I think, significant
If I could
goals.
just interject, Senator, you're right. The utilities have been moving in this direction, but this is such an accelerated pace. I mean, has there been any sort of feasibility study or analysis on this acceleration? I've seen many case studies in terms of states and countries that have gone down this path, and in terms of reliability and affordability, it's not been a good result. And I think we should be, looking to those case studies and learning from them, not taking those policies and moving them in a more radical direction. So has there been any sort of a feasibility or analysis?
Representative?
Yes, there have been a number of
could you
analysis
present it to the
points.
committee?
Yeah, we can definitely share with you some of the analysis points that we have done. We're not looking to other countries. We're not looking to places in other states.
Should.
We are looking specifically at what can happen in Michigan and what can be done in a way that does allow for reliability, that allows for affordability, and allows for us to do it in a uniquely Michigan way. And we do think we've put that forward.
Thank you very much. Chair recognizes Representative Hill.
Thank you. I am excited about this opportunity to enact the My Healthy Climate Plan. And my question is, in terms of the distributed generation and the 10%, could you please enumerate how that is going to, changing it from 1%, and I know it's higher now in a couple of cases, so if you could talk about how that has in fact risen over time because people are putting solar on their own roof. And then could you speak to how it would allow you to also expand, I believe, to 110% of your generation, and so you can also personally plan for your own future as you're looking towards electrifying, particularly the electric vehicle?
Yes, one of the things we know as, the automotive industry is changing both, in this country, but, throughout the world, is that, our homes in our areas are going to have to change along with that. And so we wanted to sort of ensure that there was an opportunity for growth in that space, especially at individuals' homes. There are, obviously, we expand from the 1% that's in the current law, as I mentioned. I don't remember all the numbers, but, I think some of our utilities have, through their IRP settlements, got up to 4%. I think the DTE IRP settlement, that's the one that's most in my mind because it was the one that was done this summer, was up to 6%. So this 10% will, I think, allow the growth and the continued growth for this. So I think it allows, for some consistency for those businesses that are in this space to sort of know that there's a marketplace out here. That is, I think for a lot of us that know that there is this expansion happening across the country, knowing that there is a marketplace for this is always essential. We did want to ensure that, as an individual, that you should have the right to sort of build solar on your home, on your farm, at your business. And, that individual property right, I think, is a very fundamental core to this. And we did want to ensure that the numbers that were included here did allow for, especially new homes that potentially are being built, that they would take into consideration the needs for potential electric vehicles, older homes that have to make that transition. So there has been, I think, appropriate transition here to allow the DG cap to expand. And I think will help build out the market here. Now, there's also federal programs that are going to be available. I know oftentimes we want to ensure that everyone has access to rooftop solar and other types of solar, and there are federal programs and dollars that the state is applying for that I think will also be able to expand this area as well, and those will be more targeted towards low-income communities through the Solar for All program at the federal level. And so, my hope is that we will be competitive in pulling down those dollars and resources, and on top of these changes, I think have a very robust market for those that are in that space to expand that piece of technology onto individual businesses and homeowners.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Schmaltz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senators, for being here. Let's talk about the average person, the customer. They already are burdened with high inflation. They can't even afford groceries, and now you're going to throw this at them and burden them with these high rate increases. How much do you think that's going to cost them? And also, since I have one question, manufacturing. I have several manufacturers calling me in my district. We have some great manufacturing companies in Jackson County, and they are very concerned about the cost here and having to shut down plants that don't meet your standards. So what do you say to all that?
Well, I would say, these bills don't impact private industry specifically. These are about regulated utilities. So, for example, if you have an industry that has their own natural gas facility to help power their own types of activities, because it's not a utility, it is not governed in the same way. So if there are, again, I'm not knowing which facilities you're specifically speaking of in Jackson County, so if they have some of those their own sort of generation and utilization, that will not be impacted. It is the utilities that
they will be affected by this, and they have problems.
Again, as I'm saying, Representative, if they have their own capacity that they're building, they will not be regulated under this. The utilities are regulated under this, and I think we have not changed any of the allocation rate from the industrial side and the residential side. Those still continue. I think there is a unique opportunity here. I think as you see, as we move away from very costly technologies such as coal into cheaper technologies in renewables, as well as with the federal dollars that are available in this very unique period of time, I think we can help make this transition as effectively as we
and
can.
Just quickly,
Thank you.
customers.
Enough. Thank you. We're moving on. Representative Begall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senators, for coming here. I can't see any similar plans that have worked currently or in the past. It certainly appears that the utility companies have been forced to the table on this. Where did these percentages come from they had a plan in place to reduce the carbon footprint, and now it's greatly accelerated, and we don't seem to be learning from past mistakes in other states. Where is this new percentage coming from? Who's determining the rate in which we're going to reduce the carbon footprint?
Well, we've been taking a look at other states who've implemented clean energy standards. There are other states here in the Midwest that have done that and are doing that in an effective way. What we wanted to do was make sure that we were moving in the right direction. Here, obviously, a lot of work was done by the governor and the team that built the My Healthy Climate Plan. And so some of those numbers come from the work that was done there. We worked very closely with the staff at the Public Service Commission. They're the ones who obviously have to do the regulation of the utilities. We worked with them. We worked at looking at models. We obviously asked the utilities and others to look at modeling that are in this space and to see if can these things be done on the timeline we have. I think you've probably seen some changes if you saw where our bills were originally. Based off of some of the modeling that we had seen, that we moved the date for 100% compliance from 2035 to 2040, and we made some additional changes on the renewables as well. And so we were taking in all kinds of input from many stakeholders, and that's where the numbers ended up. And I think if you look at where we introduced things to where we are, it's a very pragmatic and very reliable set of numbers that we've put forward.
I agree with rolling back that it's a better plan, but isn't it still similar to the plans that have been enacted in other states such as California, which is not working, and then we see them reversing it even further?
Again, I take a look at some other states and not California, because this is not modeled after California. We take a look at states here in the Midwest, Minnesota, Illinois, Massachusetts, that have a different system than what California does. And I think you have to take a look at other states and how they have other systems. Some states have more of a deregulated market and others don't, and so forth. So this is a very uniquely Michigan plan that we've put forward.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Preston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senators.
Thank you.
My question just requires a little bit of background. In 2019, the Presque and the Shirey's power plant were decommissioned. They were coal-burning power plants. Subsequently, We Energies came in and built 13 of the reciprocating internal combustion natural gas burners that now power the Upper Peninsula. We started this conversation on the back of an ice storm regarding affordability and reliability. When you effectively outlaw natural gas, which will basically shut down all of these rice burners that we have in the Upper Peninsula, which is our base load up there, because carbon sequestration is not viable up there, not possible, and would cost exponentially higher than what the generators themselves are valued at due to operating and construction. So sequestration is not even an option for us up there. Reliability and affordability is going to explode in my neck of the woods. What do you say to all the Upper Peninsula residents that are going to be looking at exponentially higher rate increases and decreased reliability?
Well, I think one of the things that we have obviously, put here in these bills is a clean energy standard that allows for natural gas to continue. Yes, with sequestration. And so, I think as we've talked with the Public Service Commission and with others, there is a belief that there is a path forward in the Upper Peninsula with the standards that we've put forward.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senators, for being here. We know it's tough to be in the hot seat. Senator Schenk, so this question is for you. I'm not convinced that rates won't go up, especially when the federal subsidies dry up. I'm not convinced that families won't be financially hurt by these mandates. So my question for you is, you said that the industrial industry will be insulated. Can you walk me through how the industrial industry would be insulated, but families won't be insulated from the rising costs?
So I appreciate your question. The question starts with a premise and basically saying that you're not convinced. There's a study that I've been citing, the Five Lakes Energy study, that talks about a family that doesn't really take advantage of some of the programs and rebates to take on more electrification, that family would save about $145 a year under this Clean Energy Future plan. A family that takes advantage of many of the opportunities to save energy, weatherize the home, engage in programs, could save up to $1,000 a year. So that's how families save.
And are you saying save by they apply for grants from the federal government, like to get a new thermostat that they control from afar what my temperature can be?
That might be part of it. And some of the things are just going to happen without people having to do much of anything, or anything at all. So some of these programs aren't fully built out yet. But we also know that renewable energy tends to be cheaper, and that there's a wide variety of energy sources available, as well as off-ramps if utilities can't make the clean energy standard. So the prices should not rise for the average family, and the utilities are to look at affordability and environmental justice, which includes affordability in it. So the customers are protected, and then the industrial users are also protected because the way that costs are allocated across the system remains the same. And so we're looking at a situation where overall energy costs should be going down. Utilities won't be paying more than of the share in the cost of the entire system that they are now, and so costs should not be going up really for anybody.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a very simple question, because I know a lot of language changed around nuclear as we went through this process. So with where the language is right now, do all of the nuclear reactors, both Fermi and Cook, that are active in Palisades, it's about to become active, count from day one? And would that also be the case for any new, whether it's traditional or small modular microreactors, et cetera? Would all that generation count under these standards from day one?
So day one for clean energy standards starts in 2035. So renewable starts earlier, but 2035 is when the clean energy standard comes forward. So yes, anything that is currently in place, Palisades, would also be all included. So when the clean energy standard pops up in 2035, those will all be considered there. Currently right now, we don't have I think it's about 20-some% for nuclear, and so we don't anticipate that growing much in the short period of time. So we do believe by 2035, not only will you have, if let's say Palisades comes on, that will be fully here. We make sure that it doesn't impact some of the groups that would be potentially utilizing Palisades as an energy vehicle. Those ideas of kind of small modular nuclear, as that technology comes forward and if that becomes an affordable technology, I think we're probably looking at that same time frame of the early 2030s to the mid 2030s, and so those would all be available and included at that point in time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Representative Churches.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I just was wondering if you could help me understand and give me some clarification for school districts, if they would be having like a choice rate or a commercial rate. Could you clarify for me?
Those, I guess, school districts that are in the choice program would be allowed to continue in the choice program. There's no change in the choice program overall. We're not making any changes to the 10% choice that has been in the law for many years now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Minority Vice Chair Wenzel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't touch on reliability, and affordability. I think my colleagues have done a good job on this brownout bundle package that we like to call these bills. But my question is, MISO, have you spoken with them at all?
The Public Service Commission, as you know, works with MISO, works with FERC and other federal.
But you haven't spoken with them on these bills in any way?
I've not personally talked to MISO, but I've talked to the commission, who is the entity that does interact with those. They've reviewed all of the legislation. They've actually written a lot of the language as we've put forward ideas and so forth. So, I'm very comfortable that if our chief regulator, the Public Service Commission, is comfortable that this meets whatever needs MISO would have or FERC would need, that these are here. And I think that's one of the reasons why they had proposed some of the language that allows for off-ramps. So if MISO does have a concern, a situation like we had in the Upper Peninsula, then there would be an off-ramp that would allow for the commission and others to figure out the situation that is in that area.
Okay. I just think it'd be prudent to do our homework first instead of providing off-ramps. We would maybe talk to MISO.
Chair recognizes Representative Aragona.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senators, thank you for being here. Senator Singh, I'm going to actually throw this one at you, if that's okay, because it actually has to do with Senator Geis's bill, and completely understandable she's not here. Family first, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, totally get that. My question is, how will this affect, I've been contacted by some school districts, even some in like more urban areas. So how will this affect them when they try to purchase renewable energy credits for clean energy? Because my understanding is they're saving some money doing that, but they're concerned that this will no longer allow them to do that. So how is that going to affect them?
Let me see if I understand your question. So, right now, there are some school districts that are in the choice program. Mm-hmm. There are some that are not. I think there are some school districts that are looking to put renewable energy sort of on their sites to help them save resources as well. In those situations where a school district is working with a third party for their independent energy, those requirements, as we would put on our utilities, would be put on to those entities as well. We want to ensure that we've got the capacity, that we're building out the renewable. I think in a lot of the schools areas, especially as they're working with an independent body, this will allow them to, I think, really build out solar on their facilities, working with their third party entity. And my hope is that we'll see a lot more of that expand throughout the state.
Okay, thank you. They're just concerned that it'll cost them up to $10 million. So I just needed some clarification on that, and maybe if we can look into that together a little bit, just so I can get them an answer.
I'd be pleased to continue that conversation with you, Representative.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're now going to have those that wish to speak to come forward. In support of the bill, we have Daryl Slaughter and Nick Acapente from NRDC and Michigan LCV. In the essence of time, I'm going to ask that you take only 2 minutes. I will be timing you, and I will have to cut you off. Thank you. Welcome.
Chair Scott, members of the committee. My name is Nick Acapente. I'm the Government Affairs Director at the Michigan League of Conservation Voters, and I'm here today to support all 4 bills. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on these critical issues of importance to the future of the state of Michigan. I'm going to have to be brief and really kind of cutting my marks down right here, so please forgive me. But we are in supporting these bills. We think they're sensible energy policy, providing low-cost, reliable, and clean energy for communities across Michigan while addressing climate change. We were up here at the beginning of the summer, and I think that after a summer of smoke, reddened skies, choking the airs, waves of outages, and news of climate-driven tragedies from all over the country and our world, the time to act has never been more clear or more urgent. The transition is not only possible, you've heard from the bill sponsors, it's already happening, but we need to move faster. We need to do that for multiple reasons, but we have an opportunity to capture massive investment in front of us that if we delay, we cannot capture in its entirety, both private and federal dollars. Even more importantly, We have an opportunity to make Michigan healthier, safer, and a more affordable place to live. I think you've heard significant testimony already. This is an opportunity to drive down costs that were already headed up and to flatten that curve because of the more cheap, renewable energy and energy efficiency available to us through these packages. We also have an opportunity to address the historic wrongs by moving towards a more just and equitable energy system where Michigan's black and brown communities are not overburdened with high energy rates and poor service. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Darrell Slaughter here. Darrell.
Chair Scott and committee members, thank you for giving us a little bit of time. Again, Darrell Slaughter with the Natural Resources Defense Council, serving as a Michigan Climate and Clean Energy Advocate. I want to speak to Senate Bill 502, Senator Schink's bill. Just wanted to really emphasize the changes that this bill does. It gives the commission the tools as it's evaluating future generation decisions in the integrated resource plans. Gives them the tool to actually finally consider equity, affordability, and climate change more robustly in that integrated resource planning case. In addition to that bill, it adds additional funds for community groups and advocates that want to intervene in the Michigan Public Service Commission's various cases. It opens up more funds and more resources for organizations to do so in that process. And there's also a few other processes that make the commission more accessible and transparent by having a minimum of public hearings as that the commission would have to run. In terms of 273, the energy waste reduction updates, you've heard about it from the bill sponsor, Senator Singh and Senator Schenck. Some of the really significant pieces in there, increasing that minimum energy efficiency saving level is really going to be really key, especially for our most vulnerable populations. For the first time ever, we're going to have minimum spends for low-income folks to make some of those really key and crucial updates, like building envelopes that make homes more efficient and actually help folks save a bit of money, and also combat climate change and actually push off the decision to have to build out more generation there. So I know we're at a little bit of time, but just want to really express our support for the bill package there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you can also provide your written testimony. We'll make sure that's on the website.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much
Cheers, Scott.
for joining us today. Next up in support of the bill to speak is Justin Carpenter from the Michigan EIBC. May you come forward, please? 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Scott, members of the committee. I'm happy to sit before you today to offer Michigan EIBC's support of this package. This day is a culmination of nearly a year of stakeholder engagement, negotiation, and hard work. The legislation that sits before you today has been forged in the fires of debate by a plethora of groups and public interests and comprises a massively beneficial set of policy changes for Michigan. You will hear from a lot of groups today who will talk about the environmental benefits of these bills, and they're correct. This legislation will protect our clean air and preserve our state for future generations. I, however, am here to talk to you about the economic benefits that Michiganders will reap from these bills and why we support this package. We support language to create a new renewable portfolio standard and clean energy standard, ensuring that we are building reliable, cost-effective generation to meet our rising needs and spurring growth in both manufacturing and development in an advanced energy industry that already employs over 140,000 Michiganders and has seen a recent investment of over $21 billion in this state. We support language to raise the distributed generation cap, lowering an artificial barrier to entry to Michigan markets, finally allowing for growth for the competitive rooftop solar industry, and in turn reducing costs for Michiganders who want to invest in their own energy independence. We support language to require 2,500 additional megawatts of energy storage, creating a more efficient and reliable energy grid. We support language in the bill substitute that clarifies that both electric and gas utilities may offer and promote efficient electric appliances, such as cold climate air source heat pumps and other electrification measures. These provisions are critical to reduce costs for customers to install new appliances in their homes. We support the inclusion of low-energy income waste reduction programs and workforce development requirements to help to expand accessibility to energy efficiency strategies across the state. And finally, we are supportive of a minimum performance standards and incentives for gas utilities of 0.875% energy savings and 1.5% for electric utilities to increase efficiency. And as an aside, quickly, I know that we talked about Okay.
You can wrap it up.
I know we talked a lot about other countries. I've heard the case study of Germany talked about a lot. I was fortunate enough in August to meet with a delegation of industrialists, policymakers, and other such energy professionals from Germany. The case study in Germany is currently that reliance on natural gas has cost Europe dearly. We have seen massive cost increases in Germany after the Nord Stream pipeline was destroyed, and currently politicians across all of their parties are encouraging the build out of renewable generation such as solar and wind, and they call them freedom energies. A vote for this package is a vote for American energy independence.
Thank you very much. We do have a question, however, for you. Just one. Chair recognizes Representative Preston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The part that you left out about Germany is its abundant reliance on nuclear that was decommissioned prior to the natural gas. But my question is, the U.S. is 13% of global emissions. Michigan is 3% of that, 13%. With these metrics, how can you say that this is about climate and not about admitting to the fact that this is about harvesting federal dollars?
I mean, we're not a climate-based organization. We're a trade organization. I'm focused on the economics. But when it comes to the climate crisis, I mean, this is collective action, right? Everybody has to do their part. If all of us just threw up our hands and said that we couldn't do it, then it wouldn't get done. I'm not saying that making this change in Michigan solves it globally, but everybody has to do their part, and we should be doing ours.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony. Next up to speak in opposition of the bill is Melville Nickerson from NRG. Can you come forward, please? And in the essence of time, please 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak about NRG's as well as the electric suppliers' concern about Senate Bill 271. We, NRG, conceptually is in support of the goals that are established in Senate Bill 271. We do come before this committee with grave concerns about Section 28 and Section 29. In particular, the requirement to bring capacity along with the purchase of renewable energy credits in order to meet the state's renewable energy goals. Capacity is a product that ensures that the power is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Capacity is not truly a product that is associated with renewable energy. We all know that when the sun doesn't shine, solar is not generating electricity. So if we need to provide capacity at 9 o'clock in the night, we cannot rely on solar energy. The same is true also about wind energy. Wind energy is not always generating electricity. Wind generally blows most robustly at night. And so it could be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and if wind energy is needed, it may not be available. I would also underscore the fact that nationally, and this is information that can be obtained on the Energy Information Administration's website, a federal agency, renewable energy only comprises 12% of all the energy that's available to provide energy to end consumers. So there is insufficient renewable energy to provide capacity, and this is a barrier to us continuing to serve our block of customers, such as 40 school districts and the $10 million of annual savings that we provide to them. We are very concerned that we will no longer be able to offer those types of savings to school districts who use that savings to reinvest in education, in faculty, and in facilities. We would ask you kindly to consider an amendment to remove the requirement to bring capacity. Michigan is the only state, and I'll close, Madam Chair, Michigan is the only state in the nation currently that is requiring capacity, renewable capacity, to be brought in order to meet in-state renewable energy goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. In the essence of time, we do have other cards. They will be provided on the website that are in support and opposition and neutral. We have several amendments, so I need to move forward. All right. Representative Wenzel for Senate Bill 271. Can you please speak to your amendment?
I have two of them.
One at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment strikes the prohibition of using CO2 for enhanced oil recovery. America has become an energy superpower by using this technology, and if we don't want to use this waste product in our state to create a benefit, we can capture the carbon and pipe it to other states who would embrace this technology and the jobs that come with it. Thank you. I move my amendment.
So moved. We need a motion to adopt. No? Oh, never mind. Okay. All right. Clerk, will you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend,
No.
Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Bagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. We also have an amendment from Representative Preston on Senate Bill 271. Representative Preston, will you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the first things that we did in the legislative session was to approve the funding for the Escanaba paper mill, also known as now Billerud. Part of Billerud's operation is a percentage of self-sustaining energy generation through their existing natural biomass generation facility. This amendment will ensure that Billerud is able to fulfill its operational plan, supplement its energy needs, using the massive stores of biomass they will generate during operations. This amendment is consistent with the bill package and simply tries to put the Upper Peninsula's largest strategic investment on a path to success. I urge everyone on this committee to consider what we did at the opening of legislature and that we will fulfill our commitment to the working men and women of the Upper Peninsula. Madam Chair, I move my amendment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
Pass.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Bagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 7 nays, 1 pass. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Altman also has an amendment on Senate Bill 271. Will you please speak to your amendment?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment states that these new sources of generation are required to be 100% manufactured in the U.S. rather than relying on hostile foreign governments and hopefully eliminating the slave labor involved in gathering these rare earth materials needed for these new power generation sources. I move my amendment be adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you please call the vote?
On motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Bagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 10 yeas, 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Schmaltz also has an amendment on Senate Bill 271. Will you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment has to do with the 30% rate increase suspension. This legislation is likely to significantly increase rates for every resident in all of our communities. If rates go up by more than 30%, that would be a sure sign that this plan isn't working properly. So my amendment would require the Commission to permanently suspend the application of these bills if monthly rates go up by 30% or more. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move my amendment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the vote.
The motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Holman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Iragona?
Yes.
Pagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Pagola has an amendment for Senate Bill 271. Can you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The old cliche, put your money where your mouth is, means taking action to support one's statements or opinion. My amendment gives those that claim these rates will not lead to significant rate changes the opportunity to do just that. If rates increase greater than the consumer price index for that year, the Commission shall permanently suspend this legislation. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move my amendment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Holman?
Pass.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Pagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 nays, 7 yeas, 1 pass. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Wenzel has a second amendment on Senate Bill 271. Can you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment delays the implementation of this legislation till January 2025. This makes significant changes, obviously, to our state's energy policy. And that extra time will allow our businesses, electric providers, and our residents to prepare for these changes. Quite simple, and I move my amendment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
The motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Holman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Pagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
And Chair, 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Aragona also has an amendment for Senate Bill 271. Can you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Judging by some of the testimony we heard today, I haven't really been convinced that MISO has been looped in on this bill package and the effect that it will have. I know that they have been on previous bipartisan packages that have moved in the legislature years back. So my amendment just simply states that these bills will not take effect until MISO has issued a report concluding whether this bill package will, at very least, just maintain grid stability or increase it, as some people might think. So I move my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Pagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. We will now vote on the bills. Don't feel left out. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, we will now vote on the bills. Representative Andrews makes a motion to report Senate Bill 271 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Chair Scott?
Yes.
Representatives Andrews?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Witsit?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Churches?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
McFall?
Yes.
Wenzel?
No.
Outman?
No.
Aragona?
No.
Bagol?
No.
Green?
No.
Preston?
No.
Schmaltz?
No.
Madam Clerk, you have 10 yeas, 7 nays. Senate Bill 271 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. Representative McFall makes a motion to report Senate Bill 273 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Chair Scott?
Yes.
Representatives Andrews?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Witsit?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Churches?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
McFall?
Yes.
Wenzel?
No.
Outman?
No.
Aragona?
No.
Bagol?
No.
Green?
No.
Preston?
No.
Schmaltz?
No.
Madam Clerk, you have 10 yeas, 7 nays. Senate Bill 273 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am not convinced that rates will not go up. And as much money, and we actually have increased spending to our schools. My amendment stipulates that the MPC will not raise rates on both private and public schools until January 1st, 2040. I'm putting this in to protect our education system and to even protect our own funds, because that's the money we put into the schools that then would be paying for the increased rates for energy. Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair, and I move my amendment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
Pass.
Coleman?
Pass.
Witsit?
Pass.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
Pass.
Churches?
Pass.
Hill?
Pass.
McDonald?
Pass.
McFall?
Pass.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Bagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 7 yeas, 2 nays, 8 passes. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Preston also has an amendment on Senate Bill 502. Can you please speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Energy shouldn't be a partisan issue, never has been in our state. My amendment expands the MPSC from 3 members to 6 members and provides that there shall be not more than 3 members of the same party. Additionally, the UP pays the highest rates in our state, yet doesn't have a seat at the table. My amendment also stipulates that at least 1 member of the commission be a resident of the Upper Peninsula. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move my amendment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk? Yes.
Thank you. Respectfully, I am concerned that only half of the utilities in the Upper Peninsula are currently regulated by the Michigan Public Service Commission. Half the customers, I'm sorry. We have 15 utilities, and only when you look at the number of customers, only half of them are in regulated utilities, and the other half are not in regulated utilities. And I am concerned that this is an overreach, and we'll be bringing the Michigan Public Service Commission onto those co-ops and munis.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
Okay, on the motion to amend, we have Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit?
No.
Neely?
No.
Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Aragona?
Yes.
Bagol?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, you have 10 nays, 7 yeas. The amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative Preston also has another amendment to Senate Bill 502. Can you please speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Same as the first expansion, expansion of the MPSC and including a UP voice does not mean that they'll be regulated by them. And those 50% do represent or do deserve a voice on the MPSC. But 1 member of the UP ratepayer who has a yearly energy cost of less than $100,000. This, coupled with my First Amendment, ensures that UP residents would have had the vote, who have the highest rates in our state, have a voice at the table while bureaucrats discuss raising the rates of Michigan citizens. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move my amendment.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
On the motion to amend, Chair Scott?
No.
Representatives Andrews?
No.
Coleman?
No.
Witsit? No. Neely? No. Burns?
No.
Churches?
No.
Hill?
No.
McDonald?
No.
McFall?
No.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Outman?
Yes.
Ergona?
Yes.
Gold?
Yes.
Green?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Schmaltz?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, you have 10 nays, 7 yeas. Senate bill, or the amendment is not adopted.
Thank you. Representative McDonald makes a recommendation to report Senate Bill, a motion to Senate Bill 519. Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
Chair Scott? This is to report Senate Bill 502.
Yes, to report Senate Bill 502.
Yes. Chair Scott?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Witsit?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Churches?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
McFall?
Yes.
Wenzel?
No.
Outman?
No.
Ergona?
No.
Gold?
No.
Green?
No.
Preston?
No.
Schmaltz? No. And Chair, you have 10 yeas, 7 nays. Senate Bill 502 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. Representative Hill makes a motion to report Senate Bill 519 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, can you please call the vote?
To report Senate Bill 519 with recommendation, Chair Scott?
Yes.
Representatives Andrews?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Witsit?
Yes.
Neely?
Yes.
Burns?
Yes.
Churches?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Fall?
Yes.
Wenzel?
No.
Outman?
No.
Ergona?
No.
Gold?
No.
Green?
No.
Preston?
No.
Schmaltz? No. Madam Clerk, Madam Chair, you have 10 yeas, 7 nays, 0 passes. Senate Bill 519 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you very much. All right. With no further business being for the committee today, the committee is adjourned. Thank you.